Recon Athlete Podcast is brought to you by Kreitz Market, The Social, and Focus Fit San Marcos. All right, Recon Athlete Podcast, episode number 49. We're almost at 50, fellas.
It's coming up quick.
Is that exciting? Is that exciting for you, Zach?
Yeah.
You don't sound excited, bro.
Yeah, we're almost to your age.
Bro, I'm about to be 40, dog. 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today.
Could have fooled me.
Are we gonna still do? Am I still gonna have to do a show on my birthday?
I mean, I don't do a show just because I go out of town like for fun. So you definitely don't have to do one on your birthday.
Oh. Could y'all do one without me?
Paul to do an Instagram live.
Man, I'm so not technical. I mean, I don't know who's gonna produce.
Would that be possible?
I don't know.
Not to this level of quality.
Yeah. Huh. Well, we'll see.
We might just have to pre-record one.
Right. So that'll be 50, 51, 52.
Or maybe we could just stop this episode right now and then play it on that day and say it's part 2 of this one.
Part 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably do that.
Yeah. Let's split the episode up.
All right. Episode 49. Chris Sanchez, Zach Lucero, Paul Rodriguez, of course. And this is going to be district realignment. That went down Monday morning. Shout out to Snoop Daniel for going out to Kelly Reeves Athletic Complex, and that's not where it was going on. I saw him tweet about that. He was like, "Yeah, I went out to Kelly Reeves, and nobody was there." Where was it, anyways? You guys know?
At the UIL headquarters.
Yeah,
it should be on campus.
Okay, I don't even know where that's at though.
University of Texas.
Is that where it is?
No, yeah, it is downtown. Yeah.
Okay. So that went down Monday. Of course, Sunday was the big game, Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs with the big win. We'll talk about that first overall. Maybe get into a little bit of signing day today. We're going to try to get into that a little bit more on Saturday. Zach's giving us some homework for Saturday to do. He already brought our assignment when he got
worksheets.
He gave us the worksheets to do. So that's going to be for Saturday. We'll get into a little bit of what happened today, and then talk a little bit of Cowboys, a little bit of Dak's contract, and I would love to see a sign and trade, but that will not happen. So Sunday, big game. You guys watched it. I watched it from my bed because I was sick. Shout out to Revelry. They did a roasted pig, and I was super excited about it. I couldn't eat it. I got sick. I guess Sunday I woke up and I just did not feel well.
You got like the hookup over there, right?
Yeah,
you're plugged in over there.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I got over there, I watched like the first quarter and a half maybe, and I was just, I did not feel well. So I had to come home, and like, I was kind of in and out, like watching the game, kind of like not really, but I mean.
That was me. Whenever the new Star Wars came out, that was like when I was peak my last sickness.
Yeah. And
so I watched it with my girl and my mom, and I was just sitting there trying to make it. So I couldn't tell you one thing that happened in that movie.
Yeah, I was fixing to remind you, Chris, about that watch party, but
my bad.
I noticed you looked at your phone. You're like, yeah, you got to get the little bit of background noise before that gets kicked off. So when you saw Star Wars, like you just passed out or left out?
I was trying my best to like just
keep it together.
Yeah, keep it together, like not have like a coughing fit or like because I had the flu, like.
Yeah. And you still went to the theater?
Well, I was like. Coming into the flu, probably.
Okay. Sorry. So you was like your ultimate, your peak of contagiousness. That's when you went to the theater.
I was like right before the contagious part. I didn't have I turned that off.
The contagion.
Yeah. So, but I was like, I wanted a blanket. Like I was just trying to eat all the popcorn. Like it was bad. I need to rewatch that movie.
And I feel bad too because I didn't realize I was sick, and now like I'm hearing like Snoop sick. I think he's in bed right now. I heard some other people that were hanging out at Revelry ended up getting sick. You
got the Dos Equis virus.
Somebody has some bad juju.
That's the Mexican version of the coronavirus.
Maybe. I had the
Modelo virus.
Yeah,
brown bottle flu.
So I couldn't. I mean, and so like I watched the game, but I was kind of in and out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But from what I did watch, it was pretty much if you
didn't finish watching it, you would probably would have thought the 49ers won.
Well, I mean, I did catch the end of it, so I saw that last touchdown run by Damian Williams, so that pretty much put it away. But it was pretty much kind of right along what everybody was expecting, and 49ers came out, they did their thing, got a lead, and Patrick Mahomes brings the Chiefs back and wins. Now, is that a little anticlimactic to y'all if everybody already knew that was going to happen? Because to me, it kind of was.
No.
But I mean, that'd be like saying you expect a good game, and then if it's a good game, is it anticlimactic because you expected a good game?
I mean, I don't know. It was just kind of like, all right, well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was pulling for the 49ers. I mean, you guys were pulling for the Chiefs, right? Mm-hmm. So were y'all excited about it?
I was nervous the whole game, man. I mean, San Francisco controlled 95% of that football game, and it wasn't until like really much the last 5 minutes where Kyle Shanahan decided to pull a Kyle Shanahan part deux, like he did with Atlanta as the OC. And I don't know, Deebo Samuel was dominating that game, running and catching, and you go away from him in the fourth quarter. Like, for what? Like, why wouldn't you just keep riding that train?
Yeah.
I mean, the defense for San Francisco did their thing and dominated until Tyreek Hill got loose, and they were taking everything underneath. Mahomes was underneath, getting rid of the ball, and even he was letting things go a little high at times.
Yeah, he didn't look good. I mean,
he looked
for probably for 3/4 of the game.
Exactly.
I even said at one point, I was like, "Dang, Jimmy G looks accurate right now," and Pat Mahomes didn't. Like he was like fluttering balls, he was throwing people short, and it was weird. It was like a real like role reversal. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he's the $40 million man. Like that's a reason. He proved that.
Yeah, and so just to kind of jump
that was
back,
his agent's favorite game
for sure. And to jump back about Garoppolo being accurate, and it's because the Chiefs weren't pressuring him until the third quarter. And when they did get after him, his numbers when he was pressured, he was 1 of 9 for 29 yards when he was pressured, and that just told me everything. Like, you didn't really pressure until late third quarter, and then all of the fourth quarter, a certain down in distance.
Right.
And that's kind of what turned the game a little bit sideways. And you kind of think to yourself, when there's like 5 minutes left and, the 49ers have a small lead, why don't you just keep running the ball, until Kittle gets that PI? And that PI is really what turned everything back into the Chiefs' favor and gave them a little bit of life. And then we all saw what Mahomes can do when you give him, you resuscitate him with that defibrillator. He comes back to life. I know this is a bad reference, but Jon Snow-like, and pulls out the victory.
Why is that a bad reference?
Because you probably don't have HBO.
It's an old reference.
I do.
Oh, you do?
Oh, I did. I don't have it anymore.
I watched Game of Thrones. I said you don't have HBO. You said I do.
But I did.
Yeah.
But I don't.
I did.
Game of Thrones.
I know what you're talking about.
You had it. He doesn't have HBO.
He had it.
I know. I need to watch that new one, The Outsider.
Nah,
I've heard good things.
It was all right.
Did you watch Ballers?
Nah, I never. I don't like The Rock.
Really?
Oh, that's a good show.
I think he's a good show. I think he's a terrible actor.
Really?
I'm the only one that thinks that.
Well, some people say you're a terrible host.
That's true.
Not me. No,
that's
I
true.
Don't say that.
That's true.
But I've heard it.
That's true. I don't know. I just think I can't take him seriously. Every time I see him, I think, I just wait for him to like, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Like
just
every single time.
So you weren't digging that intro that he did with the teams for the Super Bowl?
Man, I'm telling you, dude, I was sick, bro. Like,
you didn't see that part?
I was out of it, man. Like, it sucked, man, because I was so excited to go to the Super Bowl party.
And when you're sick like that, you just can't take it in.
I know. I couldn't do anything, man. And that's why, like, when we said, we're going to do a recap of the Super Bowl, I was like, man, I barely even watched the game, man. I mean, I did, but I didn't.
But like you said, what I'm saying? The anticlimactic factor was like, you knew it was going to happen, so it really wasn't that big a deal.
Right. So, like, I'm sitting there in my bed, like, kind of like dozing in and out, and then being like, oh, okay, yeah, 49ers are winning. Yeah, okay, Jimmy Garoppolo's getting pressured, and he's, getting balls batted down. It looks a lot like the game that I saw them lose to Seattle when it was him against Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, yeah, this seems similar to that. So I'm gonna take Patrick Mahomes to win this game because when you come down to making Jimmy Garoppolo go up against another good quarterback, I'm gonna take the other good quarterback. For sure. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jimmy Grape's good quarterback, not a great quarterback. Yeah. But he's not going to win you a football game. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl.
He's like an excellent. I know we use this term kind of loosely a lot, especially with Dak. We're going to talk about in the future, but he's like a excellent game manager.
Right.
He's not like an elite QB, but he's a great game manager, and I think that's kind of what Kyle Shanahan wanted when he got that trade. And they put the big pieces around him. Great offensive line, great defensive line to get pressure off the quarterback. Deebo Samuel, rookie out of nowhere, comes out and just dominates.
Yeah. What happened? I mean, like, so you're completely right. I mean, like,
They had
him rolling. Just keep
play.
feeding him, man.
It's almost like the season hurt Jimmy G in the Super Bowl because he never really was called on like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even Kyle Shanahan said, because I mean, we talked about Jimmy G in 3/4 of the game, but once it really mattered, I mean, he didn't show up. I mean, the biggest play of the game was when he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders on that deep post.
Right.
I mean, that would have sealed the game.
It
We'd be
been
talking
game
about
over.
this game totally different.
Right.
But I mean, after the game, I think they interviewed Kyle Shanahan and asked him about his quarterback play, and he said, he played okay. 'Cause, I mean, that was it. And I mean, and I got to defend Kyle Shanahan for a second because if y'all's two teams were playing right now, and Paul's team was knowing it was the 49ers makeup, and it was known for running the ball and had a lead in the fourth quarter. If you come out with 5 minutes left, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, what are you doing on defense?
Me?
Yeah.
If he's running the ball,
If he's a running team
Yeah.
and he has the lead, what are you doing?
I'm trying to put a bunch of men in the box and stop.
Right,
that
you're
run.
selling out to stop
Yeah,
the run. You're
yeah.
sending run blitzes.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the NFL,
I'm
man.
putting
Like
9 guys in that box.
and it's the NFL. I mean, neither teams have some crazy running back that's going to bounce outside, even off of run blitzes and stuff.
Right.
Neither of those teams just aren't built like that. So I mean, Kyle Shanahan really, like, if you think back to those moments when he did run the ball or did pass the ball instead of run it. If he would have run the ball, all you're doing is getting stuff. You're just doing the same thing that ended up happening with the incompletions. But I mean, if Jimmy G's hitting those throws, I mean, we're talking about totally different with Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I think sometimes coaches overthink it, where it's like reverse psychology, where it's like, well, they think I'm going to run,
So I'm going to pass.
yeah, but that they think I'm going to pass because I know they know I know that they know.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm just going to run it anyways because that's what we're supposed to do, and then they just get stuffed, and that's why. I mean, as Longhorn fans, that's what we see every year is you just get too conservative in the end, and you don't take any time off the clock because you just get stuffed, and it allows the other team to come back. Yeah. So at least Kyle Shanahan gave his team and gave his quarterback the opportunity to come back in that game. He just didn't have the quarterback to do it. Where, I mean, when this was Jimmy G in New England, when this was Jimmy G early on in his San Francisco career, when he was throwing the ball, I mean, maybe that Jimmy G does it, but I mean, he'd have to throw the ball all year. Yeah. He's in the playoffs with like 30 pass attempts. So I mean, and you're asking him on like the biggest stage, like with everything on the line to be something he hasn't been all year. I mean, I think that their lack of variety throughout the season might have hurt him there.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, I mean, it's one thing if you're trying to come back, and you're asking Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball if he's behind. But when you're in the lead, I mean, yeah, you might get stuffed, but at least that clock still runs. I mean, at least you're not stopping the clock and giving Patrick Mahomes more time. So I mean, I don't know. I do get what you're saying. I do understand. That, but I do see why that Kyle Shanahan was getting the criticism that he got because he did kind of get away from from his game plan. Mm-hmm. And but I don't know. I just think even if some of those passes would have been completed, yeah, you're right. I mean, we might be talking about a San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl championship, but they didn't, and Patrick Mahomes got on the field and the defense couldn't stop him. So I mean, Kansas City offense came out and did what they were supposed to do, and the 49ers defense at the end of the game couldn't get the job done.
I think another thing that was big too is just the pace that the Chiefs go and the way they spread out the field and make everyone on the defense worked. I'd never seen that defensive line for San Francisco be just so gassed.
Yeah.
I mean, late in the fourth quarter, they were having to start sending blitzes to pressure Patrick Mahomes because they weren't getting there with the 4. And Patrick Mahomes had better statistics when they did send a blitz than when they didn't. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes also to show just the defensive makeup that they have behind that defensive line. Once you start sending blitzes, once you start sending extra people, you're gonna have to start manning up in the defensive backfield.
And that's when Tyree got loose.
And that's not what your stars are doing on this. Like you have Richard Sherman. I mean, Darrelle Revis was right when he called him out and said, "Hey, I play man. Like all you do is play zone." That's all he does is play zone. And
that's his strength,
right? Yeah. And when he was asked to man somebody up, he got burned.
Yeah.
But I mean, he had to be put in that situation because it was either hope my Hall of Fame corner can hold up, or let Patrick Mahomes have forever because our defensive line just isn't hitting home. Yeah. So I think the reverse of that was what went on with the Chiefs defense against San Francisco's offense. So I think we hear about these running backs and your boy Mostert and all those guys. I mean, there's more to the running back position than what you can do with the ball. And I think that's being at a school. I went to Incarnate Word, which is a FBS, a smaller Division I school. All those guys come in there saying, "Oh yeah, I had 3,000 yards of offense," like blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, but there's a reason you're here and not at Texas, where you're not at Alabama, because at those places they want the complete back.
Yeah.
Mostert has been in the NFL for a while. He's been on special teams. He's bounced around because these teams are looking for a complete back, and I think that was really evident when after he became kind of the bell cow of that offense. And he was in there in those situations, and the Chiefs were starting to send blitzes. Watching him try to pick up these linebackers, and it was like a special. It was like the scout team offense against the first string defense. I mean, he just wasn't able to hold up in these blitzes, and it was the late rushers that were really getting there and hitting home against Jimmy G. So I just think, whereas the first half, 3/4 of the game looked like a very evenly matched game, if not the 49ers. Being a little better of the team, I think late you started to see that the Chiefs were always going to win this game.
Yeah, Paul.
No, that was eloquently put, Zach. I don't even think I could even add anything to that. Just a good recap. I mean, I'm just a little bit grateful that Andy Reid could get a ring. Because I just think the guys got to go jacket.
Call him Andy Reid, Andy Ring.
Randy Reid.
Call him Andy Ring.
Andy Reid.
Andy Ring.
We call him Andy Weed, but now Andy Ring.
No, but one more thing, I saw you put a gold jacket on Sherm already.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
You put a gold jacket on Sherm.
Yeah.
One ring.
No, I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's true. I'd have to say
he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
All right, let's not get into that right now.
I just heard it real quick.
But they better put him on the other side of the Hall of Fame from Darrell Revis and Nnamdi Asomugha and those guys.
Let me shout out all my watch party people first before you start having this conversation. I want to shout out to Sarita Berge. Get well, Berge.
Get well.
Snoop, rest in peace. I think Snoop is in the room. Say what's up,
Shout out Snoop.
Stephanie. Patrick Davis is on a watch party. Say what's up to Patrick. He's Instant Serious on the horn.
Yeah, that's my boy.
8 o'clock. You know Patrick? Me and P. Davis. So me and P. Davis, we started our podcast career.
We're boyfriends.
With Benchwarmers. We had a podcast together called Benchwarmers. This was like 10, 12 years ago.
I couldn't have been on that podcast.
Why? Why not?
I'm not a bench warmer.
Yeah, you are. You were totally a bench warmer.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, you were. You didn't start nothing.
In football?
You didn't start nothing.
In football, I played more than I did in baseball.
Yeah, you definitely were a bench warmer. So anyways, let me tell you a real story real quick. So me and P. Davis start this podcast called Benchwarmers, right? And then the sales manager that's at the I'll call him out, Intercom.
Okay.
He goes to Corpus Christi, and then all of a sudden there's a talk show, and I think it might even still be on air in Corpus Christi called The Benchwarmers.
Really?
And there's a movie called Benchwarmers 2.
And there's a movie.
And the Benchwarmers 2.
I mean, but shout out P. Davis. Y'all check out Instant Serious. I think it's Monday nights, 8 o'clock on the horn. Leonard Davila. I want to shout out to Anthony Lopez Panas. Carrie.
He likes me. He thinks I'm good. Patrick.
Michelle C. Michelle Cunningham. And shout out Michelle, my girl. Jesse, Alexis, Ivy. I always like saying that her whole name because she puts it on there on Facebook. All right, real quick before we move off from the Super Bowl,
Richard Sherman, Hall of Famer. Darrell Revis, Hall of Famer level 3.
Did y'all?
Level 3.
All right, so I didn't really. I mean, what I did see.
I'm scared where you're taking this.
Why? Do you know where I'm going with this?
I'm scared. Go ahead.
Why?
Go ahead.
All right.
I don't know where you're going.
This halftime show.
Oh,
that's what I thought. God.
Okay, I enjoyed the halftime show. I thought it was awesome. Bad Bunny came out.
Yeah,
I was
you're all doped up,
dude. Yeah. No, I wasn't yet. Anyways, I thought the halftime show was great. I had no problem with the halftime show. Yeah, there was some skin and some some gyrating and whatever. apparently it was a big deal. And there was like a lot of backlash from a lot of, I guess, conservative people. I mean, I consider myself, pretty conservative.
Okay.
Somewhat.
White people.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, man.
But I mean, Adam Levine done had his shirt off last year.
I mean, I don't, I'm like, man, I was like, is this Rachel? Is this Rachel?
I don't know who. I don't know that reference.
Rachel, man.
Oh,
Rachel, man. I was like, Rachel Way.
I mean,
I was just like, man, I was like, come on, bro. I was like, dude, it was just like, to me, we're talking like, this is Latin music. I mean, Latin dance. I mean, get out of the United States of America.
You
people.
walk, no, not even.
Y'all go. And
you walk around South Beach and you'll see girls wearing less than that. You'll see dudes wearing less than that.
Travel a little bit, people. Get out of your neighborhoods. Get out of your. I don't know, man. And I want to shout out to my friend Melanie because she was one that thought that it was too risque. And it was funny. We had this conversation because she was like, "Well, I mean, they had to, I don't want to have to explain. What if you had to explain to your kids, about the stripper pole in the middle of the stage?" And I'm like, "Well, how these kids know what a stripper pole is? How they gonna know that? It's just a pole that she's swinging around on. I mean, you kids already know what a stripper pole is. I mean, are you gonna say, oh, hey, kids, that's a stripper pole in the middle of the stage? If you say that, they're gonna know that. But don't point it out.
Then your kid's gonna go tour the fire department with his kindergarten class and say, "Why are they sliding down the stripper pole? I thought they were firefighters."
That's exactly a great point. So I was just like, man, what? I was like, is this a racial thing? And as a,
I don't think it's
as a Hispanic person, Latin person, I don't want to think that it is. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't like to use that excuse at all. Ever, because my parents didn't raise me like that. They don't want to. They don't. Hey, don't use that as an excuse for anything. Yeah. You want to get something. You want to go somewhere. You work hard and you get there. Mm-hmm. You might have a little bit more obstacles. Things might be a little bit different. Things might be a little bit harder. You might be treated a little bit different. And I've definitely felt that. I don't know if you guys ever felt that before, but I've definitely felt that. I just. It's hard for me to get away from this topic and not say, why was this brought up? Was it because of the makeup of the artists, or was it just purely because of the, I guess, costumes and dance moves and I don't know.
I don't think it has
like stripper pole
racial roots. I think it's just easier to call out the risqueness if it's an ethnicity, a minority ethnicity.
Okay.
I think it just makes it easier.
Okay.
Because that's what I think.
I keep looking at Paul. Paul he's not touching this at all. Are you going to say anything?
I like the show minus J-Lo.
You don't like J-Lo?
J-Lo just... I don't know. Like, I like Shakira. I like Bad Bunny. I think who was the other guy? J Balvin.
Yeah. J Balvin.
I was like, all of those cool.
He's good.
Can we just not have J-Lo? Because I want somebody who's not 50 wearing lingerie on TV. That's just me,
bro. That's brutal.
That's the truth. Those are facts.
But she's great shape.
That's great. But Grandma 52. I was like, nah, bro. Like, Shakira was great. Bad Bunny. I was like, yeah, Bad Bunny. I was like, J Balvin. I was like, cool. I would have rather seen Cardi B. If someone's gonna come out in lingerie, it's got to be Cardi B.
I guess.
Well, what do you got against Puerto Ricans? Maybe that's racial.
Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican, my friend.
Yeah, Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican.
J Balvin is Puerto Rican, my friend.
Now you're being sexist.
I told you I love Shakira and Cardi B, brother. I could cover my bases. So I'm bringing the DR into this.
All right,
the DR, Dominican Republic.
Yeah,
I thought I would have heard. So I went and watched it. So as you guys know, I'm the sideline reporter for Vandergrift High School, which is a wealthier area.
Yeah.
So I was invited by one of the parents to come and watch it at their house.
Okay.
And now, as you could, I mean, the squares they were doing were hella expensive.
Right.
Like there's doctors there. There's vintage cars in the street parked out front.
Hold on. They do squares?
Yeah.
Okay.
but not our kind of squares.
Like $500 squares.
Well, I know some $10,000 payout squares. I'm just saying. But yeah, go ahead. I just didn't know they got down like that.
Yeah.
Well, you're sexist, so I can't explain this.
Okay.
So so there's, like I said, there's like doctors there.
Yeah.
So it's me and my girl, and then there's one high school girl there that I'm pretty sure she goes to Vancouver. I'm pretty sure I've seen her around before.
All right.
And so I had never heard "Who Is That" more times than during that halftime show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then when Bad Bunny came out, everyone's like, "Who's that? Who's that?"
Yeah.
And they looked at me because I'm the only ethnic person in the room. And I said, I think that's Bad Bunny. And they were like, Bad Bunny? Bad what? I was like, Bunny, like the animal. They're like, Bad Bunny. And I looked at the high school girl. I was like, that's Bad Bunny, right? And she looked at me like, I don't know.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I find this so funny.
And she looked at me like, I don't know. I was like, as soon as I asked her, I was like, why did I think she would know who that is? This girl doesn't listen to no Bad. She doesn't. As soon as I said that, she started talking to her mom about buying her Post Malone tickets. She don't know no Bad Bunny.
If you know Post Malone, you should know Bad Bunny.
She don't know no Bad
She
Bunny.
should.
And then they done brought out J Balvin, and it's all over again. Who's that?
yeah,
Who's
J
that? Who's
Balvin.
Chris
that?
over here dying.
Because, you know.
And after I gave the first answer, everyone wanted to know my opinion, wanted to know the answer for the second one. They knew I had all the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, if I hadn't felt bad, dude, I would have, that would have been in a Super Bowl party with that, you know, that music on, bro. I'd have been all up just dancing along, bro. Just, I mean, I would have, I'd have been all in it, man. You know, even with the Pearl Snap shirt on, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Chris would have put on the Cumbia Kings.
I would have, dude.
We got that
Cumbia Kings.
conjunto going on real quick.
I mean, you know, it's just in the blood, you know, just when I hear that music,
Yeah,
like
when you hear the music.
it's just like, you just start moving, man. You just start grooving. So, I mean, I don't know. I was just surprised by the reaction.
But there's always going to be, this day and age, there's always going to be a reaction.
Everybody got
There's
something to
always going
say.
to be a reaction.
I just, I was just kind of, I don't know if I was surprised or disappointed in the reaction to it.
I'm just glad
You know
I
what I'm
didn't see any of the reaction. I think I was just too busy.
I you know what, and I didn't either, and it was funny because the only reason why I knew about it is because I talked to my friend Melanie on the phone. She's also my CPA, so
Yeah.
I had called her and I was like, hey, I was like, we got, I got taxes coming up. I was like, can I, stop by, and we can finish the books, for me and Snoop stuff, and we still got to do some stuff for Recon, but. Oh, they're good, man. They're real good. Yeah. I mean, I got to get with Snoop a little bit later.
Books are tight.
Yeah.
Tight.
We got everything. We made, Daniel and Christopher LLC did pretty well. So shout out to Snoop. Anyways, so then we're talking. I'm like, hey, I'll come over later. Blah blah blah. And then she's like, hey, you did this halftime show, and we started talking about the halftime. I was like, were people really upset about this? And I kind of Googled it a little bit, and then I was just like, oh wow, people were really upset. So.
Good,
I don't know.
good.
We'll see. I'm glad I got that out. I had to get that out.
I don't need that negativity in my life.
About the Super Bowl. All right, Recon Athlete, episode number 49. Chris Sanchez, Zach Lucero, Paul Rodriguez. We did have district realignment on Monday, so we have different districts.
Hey, I'm pretty sure I got all of those prop bets wrong.
Did you?
I think every single one.
Oh, I didn't. I forgot to go back and look because I didn't. Do
I knew you weren't going to.
I wasn't. I'm sorry, y'all. I was sick.
Well,
for 2 days.
Sick of you forgetting stuff,
dude. I was sick for 2 days.
Paul always wants you to clip audio and post audio and do all this stuff.
Pull the tape.
I'm just like, I was sick for 2 days. I'm sorry, y'all. Golly.
I missed you in those messengers, bro.
Dude,
like,
y'all get
where's
crazy.
Chris?
Y'all get crazy in those messengers.
I don't like to be
There's-
talking in those.
There's
either.
too
Paul,
many.
It's
I go
it's
off
just
on
Paul
it.
talking to himself. Most of the time.
Pretty much.
It is.
All right, so 4A Division 1, we do have one team in 4A, right? Like Austin area team.
Yeah, 13 4A division.
13 4A Division 1.
Division 1.
And that's LBJ.
Yep, that's LBJ.
That's crazy.
And me and Paul had this conversation in the messenger one of the times I actually replied. And 4A, you can get away with just having the athletes. If you have the athletes, you can make a deep run into the state tournament. All LBJ needs to do in this district is make the playoffs. Once they make the playoffs, we've seen teams I mean, really similar to them. I think Maynard and LBJ had very similar makeup, and we saw Maynard kind of had a lackluster regular season and then made a deep run into the playoffs. So as long as LBJ makes the playoffs, I think they're a school that's going to be talked about. I still think Lampasas wins this district, but I mean that I don't even know if that matters for LBJ. They just need to get there.
The Badgers, huh?
Yeah, I think the other good thing I was kind of looking is because everybody knows the name Waco La Vega. The good thing for LBJ is they're in the opposite end of the region. So Waco La Vega is going to be in Region 2, and I think LBJ, this district's in Region 3. So if they can run the gambit and get to a semifinal or maybe a final, they wouldn't really have to see La Vega until the end.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention Cal Allen is down to 4A too. They're in District 15. 4A Division 1. So they're in with Alice, Beeville Jones, Tuloso Midway, Corpus Christi Miller, and Port Lavaca Calhoun, the Sand Crabs. So
I think Calhoun might drop down. I feel like
I'm pretty sure they.
But
did
I mean,
too.
me and Paul talked about it, man. In 4A, it's scheme or team. You don't have to have both. So I mean, if LBJ's got the team, Cal Allen definitely has a scheme. So I mean, I think both those teams are going to be dangerous in the playoffs.
Yeah, I see them going deep.
Yeah, that could be a final right there for the playoffs with those two teams, different regions.
Yeah. All right. So all right. Before we move on, so you said you expect Lampasas to win that district.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Lampasas is just kind of the proven team now. I mean, they're in a spot that they've been in before, and I mean, regardless of being in a new district, dropping down or not, we just haven't seen LBJ live up to expectation. So I mean, if you're coming down to a team that has lived up to expectation or exceeded expectation in Lampasas versus a team that has the players but hasn't really put the product out on the table, I'm going to go with Lampasas every time.
So, I mean, you get McCutcheon back, right?
Yes.
Your LBJ. I mean, at that level, I mean, you said, and I like that phrase, scheme or team. I love that. I mean, you got
McCutcheon.
You got this guy. I mean, you got this guy that's Alabama type player in 4A. How dominant can he be, at that level? But I mean, we have seen guys, at the 4A, even 3A level, going to big, big schools. But I mean, is that going to be a major factor for LBJ, now that they're moving down to that 4A level? I
mean, I think it just depends on how much they want to use him and in what way. I mean, and if they can keep him healthy. Because I think with a high caliber player like that, especially dropping down a division, with his team not performing last year, you're going to pump the brakes as soon as you see anything kind of feeling off about his body or anything like that. But I mean, as far as a player like that, I mean, there's other guys on that team too that are going to end up being big time FBS players. I think in district we see those guys ball out, and I think early in the playoffs we see those guys ball out as well. I.e., Jordan Whittington when he was at Cuero.
Yep.
But that being said, a lot of times, especially in instances like La Vega or West Orange Stark, teams like that, once we get deep into the playoffs, you got a guy going to Alabama lined up against a guy going to Auburn, and everyone else on their team is going to ACC. But I mean, you got some all those other teams are going to have some big time athletes as well.
Yeah. You got anything, Paul?
Now
all right.
We got a long train.
Yeah, we do. No. Where am I on time? Okay, we're good. Yeah, we might not get to Dak's contract today, but we'll see.
Is that okay?
But before we move on from that, I do want to mention that LBJ and Maynard are going to kick off the season for 2020. I think that's huge. I mean, every year it's always about the Taco Shack Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, for the past almost 20 years now, it's about Anderson and McCallum. Obviously, that's the biggest game. It's always Thursday night, but I think this LBJ Maynard game, that's going to be pretty big too. I mean, I think that's and being a Maynard ISD employee, I would hope that they do a lot to promote this football game, because I think
Westlake sure is
right.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Westlake. I mean, we'll get there. Golly, they're doing crazy stuff over there. But I think Maynard has an opportunity here with the success that they've had. Granted, Coach Mitchell decided to move on to Edna. Shout out to Anthony Swain for getting the interim athletic director position. I know a lot of kids and a lot of community members are pulling for Coach Keller to get that position.
Yeah, Coach Keller.
Coach Keller is a great guy. If you know, all biases aside, I think he would do a great job. But I think Manor ISD and Manor and LBJ have a great opportunity with this football game being the first game of the 2020 season to make it a big spectacle, man. Like make it just like the Taco Shack Bowl, make it something huge for both communities and, really kick off the season, in a big way.
This is a good recruiting also event for both the schools to bring in new talent, people who are maybe questioning where they want to go. This is an opportunity for them to shine, and you're going to see plenty of D1 FBS talent on that field, when they kick off the game because, we're not only talking about the backfield for Manor, we're talking about the secondary for LBJ and guys you don't even know yet who are going to be D1 by the end of the year.
Right. All right. So 5A Division 2, Region 4, District 13. Let's start off with that one. Bastrop, Cedar Creek, Brenham, Elgin, Eastview, Glen, Rouse, and Conley. Thoughts about this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 team district?
Paul, you go first if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm trying to follow where Chris is going, right? But 13 5A D2, Bastrop. I don't know. I don't think they're going to have the talent coming back. Of course, we know Alfred Collins has been moving on. I like Glenn really. I think it's going to be between Eastview and Glenn who are going to rock out in that district for the district crown. But we know Glenn, they had a great first year, second year, continue what they're doing. But Eastview, man, I just think that their huge quarterback is going to have something to say. I think he's like 6'6" or 6'7", and we'll just see how things play out with there. But I like Glenn a lot into that district.
Yeah, I think it's a bummer that teams like Connolly and Rouse got bumped down to 5A Division 2. So we had to break up some of these like area mega districts. Like you could have had all the Pflugerville schools in one district. So I think that's kind of a bummer. But I think looking at this, I mean, all these teams have. This is probably like the most hot and cold district over the last couple of years, just in terms of how these teams have done. Bastrop has had winning streaks. Cedar Creek has had some ups and downs. Elgin as well. Eastview, Glenn had a crazy season. Rouse has kind of been down. Does this new district help or hurt them? Conley has been down, kind of the same thing as Rouse. And I think the only consistent in this district is Brenham. So if you're talking about a team that you expect to win this district, I think it's going to be Brenham.
Yeah, and I think, for some reason, Brenham, they've been in the district here in Austin for the last 2 years, and now we're going to be another Austin-centric district. Now, it's, about time that we start covering. We're going to have to do some traveling and go out to Brenham, because even Snoop was talking about it for fan stand. He was like, man, he said, I'm going to have to start going out to Brenham.
And speaking of big-time FBS players, man, Brenham just pumps them out over there.
Yeah. So, Brenham Cubs, they're going to be big in that district. All right. District 14, Crockett, McCallum, Navarro, Northeast, Travis, Liberty Hill, and Marble Falls. Pretty much what we were expecting. Marble Falls, I guess, is kind of the surprise.
That's a surprise.
But Liberty Hill, I think we were expecting that or them to be put in with this district. And I expect full domination, possibly from Liberty Hill.
Yeah, that's kind of just how I see it. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of number one, the discipline or the athletes to kind of contain that style of offense at the slot T.
See, and I'm kind of disappointed in this district only because, I've been kind of skeptical of crowning Liberty Hill, moving up to 5A, and kind of like Travis or Westlake and in their districts, you're not going to get tested until you make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So we could see Liberty Hill every week be dominant, and then get into the playoffs against. Because these are lower tier teams. To be brutally honest, but so we could see Liberty Hill make into the playoffs and finally come up against someone else's big dog from a different area, and it just show y'all were a 4A team last year, and we're kind of going to show you that.
Well, I think a lot of times, and I think you're totally accurate and on point with that. But we've known Liberty Hill's history is their non-district when they were in 4A, they were setting up 6A teams and 5A teams from the Austin area to going to get primed for that. And I think they'll probably continue that trend. I'm not quite sure who their non-district opponents are going to be, but I really see them getting primed before this district, knowing going in full well that to the exact point you said, they could find a big dog in a different district or area around or semi whatever they want to call it round where they're going to have to face a juggernaut, and they're going to need to have that experience as well as the ability to keep up with teams that are going to be more high potent.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of similar to what Dripping Springs,
exactly,
what they experienced being in this district and then running into Manor right away, and by district play. Now, granted, Manor's a great team, great athletes, great coaching, the past couple of years, and it was both. I think
great employees.
Yeah, great employees. Great payroll and benefits director. But, granted, both the games were like 1-point wins, I believe.
Tight.
Very tight wins for the Mustangs. But still, I mean, it's hard to come out of a district like that and then get ready for, like you said, somebody else's big guy.
And I think just the way that Liberty Hill is being talked about already. I mean, even at the end of last year, just as soon as the numbers came out that they were going to be moved up to 5A, people were just already crowning them. And I mean, I'm sorry, I just can't see Liberty Hill hanging with a team like Aledo. Mm-hmm. I can't. I mean, because once you get into 5A, you start having to have a little bit more team and scheme. And I think Liberty Hill has a scheme, but a team like Aledo, I mean, you have great coaching over there. You have a winning resume. You have that culture established, and you have Division I athletes all over the place, man. So, and I just can't see that matchup. And I mean, if I were to see that matchup in the state championship game, I would.
That's exactly where you'll see it if it happens.
Right. But I'm saying, like, if I see that matchup, like, it's not interesting to me because I know what's going to happen. I mean, even Cal Allen, just watching them and watching Liberty Hill, the guys that have at Cal Allen are just bigger.
Yes,
bigger, and I think that's going to be one of the things you see as well is just how does the size you're bringing from 4A compete against some of these, because there's 5A Division II schools that play 5A Division I football.
Yes,
they just kind of know how to finagle their attendance to stay in 5A Division II, and your Liberty Hill like scratching the bottom of 5A Division II when it comes to attendance, and I think that plays a big deal.
That offense is exactly designed for smaller manpower, guys who are just a little bit,
and that's why it had so much success in 4A.
Smaller, right? And that's exactly right. And previously, when they were in 3A and winning district crowns, and so it's formulated for that kind of success. But like you said, once you get bigger, more talented athletes, it's hard to overcome that scheme.
And I think Region 4 is kind of built for a team like Liberty Hill or anybody or whoever's coming out of District 13 to make a run. Because I mean, honestly, you look at districts 15 and 16, and there's not really any teams out there. I mean, back in the day, you would say Kerrville Tivy, but they haven't really been as strong these past few years. And nothing against any of
Bernie
these.
Champion went
Bernie Champion, yeah. Bernie Champion.
But that's the same thing too. Is like once they finally got out of their area, they were kind of exposed. I mean, because no one was really seeing this high powered, air it out offense that Bernie Champion brought. But then once you came up against a team that had a similar like kind of makeup plus the athletes that Bernie Champion just didn't have.
Yeah, but I don't want to take away the success that they had in the postseason. We're not talking about state championships, but they went, I think, 3 or 4 rounds deep.
They beat Cal Allen in the quarterfinals, I believe it was.
And I think it's interesting you bring up Cal Allen because it's almost like Cal Allen and Liberty Hill are just kind of switching. Because Liberty Hill is going to do the same thing that Cal Allen did.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and then whoever comes out of Region 4 is going to run into Fort Bend Marshall or probably Fort Bend Marshall. I mean, really, college. A&M Consolidated could come out of there. Possibly. And I'm just saying this to shout out to my friend Melanie, PNG, Port Neches Groves. The Indians. Shout out the Indians. But I think Fort Bend Marshall, would probably be the team to come out of Region 3. All right, let's move on to 5A Division 1. This is where it gets fun for me.
Let's back up one more time. Let's do 15-5A D2.
15-5A D2. Okay. All right. Where are we at?
So 15-5A D2, that's Bernie Champion, Medina Valley, Flores.
Oh, my bad. I forgot. Oh, my bad. I missed it.
No, that's all good.
See, that's why you need to be hosting this.
No, man, I'm just here to
Paul wears the same shirt in the same spot every week. He can't change roles.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, that's right. Can't change roles.
All right, go ahead.
No. So getting back on it, Shout out to the Social sponsoring Lockhart High this year. Also Kerrville and rounding out Alamo Heights. I mean, Lockhart's not new to this district. They're always playing in that same area. Very bubble kind of team, not in Austin, not in San Antonio. So they kind of get those schools all rounded out. I don't know. Lockhart's got doing things differently this year, changing the culture.
Right.
I think they for sure go to the playoffs. I just don't know if they get past Kerrville or Bernie champion. Last year they beat Alamo Heights. We'll see how things fare out this season.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I just think Lockhart establishing that culture, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
Because that culture has already been established at places like Kerrville, Tybee. That's why you never see Kerrville, Tybee, Alamo Heights have like bad years. Is that it's not in their DNA anymore.
Right.
Which wasn't always the case for Lockhart. I mean, they would have good seasons and then they would bounce back with a very, very bad season. And I think last year's success is going to start to do away with that, so that they become competitive again in this district, I think.
All right. So we'll see. I mean, I think the Lockhart Lions could surprise some people. Especially with the way that they've changed things up and the culture has changed, and I think they've got some great players with great coaches.
And they don't run into Edric Whitley again.
That's very true. All right, so 5A Division 1.
Yes, sir.
All right, which district do you want to start with, Paul?
No, you go for it.
District 11.
Sure.
Region 3. Anderson, Cedar Park, Georgetown, Leander, Manor, Pflugerville, Hendrickson, and Weiss.
First question: do you think this district is tougher or easier than last year? I think it's tougher.
Yeah, I'd say tougher.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you?
Who's the 4?
Where do you get a break?
Who are the 4?
Like where do you get a break though?
So Cedar Park,
yeah,
Weiss or Georgetown, and then the rest of them fight for the 4 spot.
I just mean like there's no breaks in this district. I mean, you looking at this, if you didn't follow the area last year, you just want to assume and say Anderson
or Leander.
Anderson was on the rise. Leander, regardless of what you say, they're bringing 6A athletes down to 5A. Yeah. Same with Hendrickson. I think Hendrickson's going to come into this district and immediately compete.
Yep.
It's just because of the athletes that they have. And I mean, I'm sorry, but Georgetown isn't seeing a whole side of the ball go play Division I football like Hendrickson is bringing. Cedar Park, they're coached great. They have a great culture over there, but they just don't have the athlete that Hendrickson's going to bring. And that's what made Hendrickson so competitive in the 6A district that they were in, especially the last 2 years, is you could never count them out because they just had guys that they just needed one play to break through and they can score in a hurry, or they can create turnovers on defense. So I think Hendrickson is really competitive in this district. Weiss, I think, is really interesting to watch how they bounce back, having a Glenn-like season last year and then losing their head coach right after, which I think is kind of foreign territory for them.
Yeah.
Pflugerville has been down, but I mean they're comfortable playing these teams. You get to bring back that Pflugerville-Hendrickson rivalry.
Yeah, you got Coach Taylor. He's gonna turn that around. I'm expecting that to happen.
And you're starting the Pflugerville and Weiss rivalry, so that's going to be a fun kind of little block of games there when those guys play each other. Maynard's bringing back a lot of optimism, a lot of momentum, and then Cedar Park, I mean, is every year a state championship contender.
Yeah, I think that Hendrickson and Weiss, I think that's going to be a fun rivalry to start.
Yeah, if Henderson can just get the chemistry there, I mean, they'll be extremely dangerous.
I want to agree with you, Chris, but we saw that Hendrickson versus Pflugerville rivalry be so hyped up for like a year and then just plummet in terms of on-field performance.
Okay.
I mean, the fans loved it, the students loved it, but I mean, you would go and half the Pflugerville stands would be gone by halftime because Hendrickson was just the better team. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen to Weiss, but they're just kind of in that, like in the space where you could see that kind of ending up happening.
Yeah.
I think Pflugerville versus
High.
Weiss, I think will be good from the jump.
Okay. Paul?
I love it, man. I just wanted to be football season already.
All right. District 12. That's the only other one, right?
12-5-8-1.
12-5-8-1. Yeah. Johnson out of Buda. Comal Canyon, Dripping Springs, Lehman, San Antonio Veterans Memorial, San Antonio Harlandale, San Antonio McCollum, and Seguin. Weird district. I was just like, what?
Yeah, it's
Seriously?
it's just one of those bubble things.
I was just like, okay, so you're putting Seguin with Dripping Springs, Harlandale, McCollum.
It's pretty
Veterans
much
Memorial. It's just like
Hayes County, Comal County, and
it's
north
almost,
side of San Antonio.
It was almost like who's left out of these areas? You know, who's left out of South and Southwest Austin, and in between and out east. I mean, it was almost like these schools were kind of just the leftover.
Yeah, I do want to say that.
You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what it seems like.
Yeah, it's kind of what they were.
You know, they were just like, oh, well, we'll just put these guys over here all together in District 12.
And I think it's just geographically the same of what they're trying to put everybody together with the enrollment sizes, kind of keep things a little bit normalized. But you know, these tweener schools just sitting on the edges of, you know, Austin and the north side of San Antonio, it's really tough for a district to kind of be comprised, and especially with new schools like, you know, Buda Johnson coming in. And then, of course, New Braunfels Canyon, west side of Hayes County with Dripping Springs. I kind of feel bad for Lehman. I think they're just going to be another tough year. I'd like to see them do well now that they're not in a huge 6A, you know, with Westlake and Lake Travis and Hayes. But, you know, we'll see how things fare. But it doesn't get any better with Dripping Springs and, you know, that Johnson school, man. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people going into next year, even though they're going to be a first-year program.
All right, so let's move on to 6A. Where do we want to start, Paul? 6A.
Don't matter. You want to start north? 25, 6A?
Tell me, bro. Come on, man. Let me know.
25, 6A.
25, 6A. All right. Vandergrift, Vista Ridge, Hutto, Round Rock, the Dragons, McNeil, Stony Point, Westwood, and Cedar Ridge. How do y'all feel Hutto's going to do in this district?
Zach, I'm going to let you lead it off.
Man,
I
don't know. I really don't know.
Exactly how I feel.
I really don't know. I mean, you want to say they'll do good, but they didn't really even ever live up to especially y'all's expectations.
I know. I was crowning them
5A.
I was crowning them state champions last year, week 2.
So if you're not going to live up to expectation, I mean, you're almost replacing a Hendrickson with a Hendrickson type team. Like,
yeah,
they have the athletes, they have high expectations, they have a winning culture established, but they can never really get over that hump. So I mean, I think this is going to be a really fun matchup. The venue over at Hutto I think is really cool. I like it when stadiums aren't like in the middle of campus. So you have 79 right there. I mean, I think that just the scenery is really cool over there. I think it's gonna be fun matchups for everybody in this district playing against Hutto. But I don't even know if you can for sure pencil Hutto in as a playoff team.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they're in conversation for it for sure, especially above some of the other teams this district. But I mean, I just don't know. I mean, you can't count out Vandergrift. I know I sound like a homer saying that, but you really
I mean, not really.
Can't.
Yeah.
I mean, Westwood brings back probably one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in
top quarterback.
Shout out RJ Martinez,
Top quarterback.
number 1 fan right here, bro.
I mean, there's just not one team. I mean, even the offense that McNeil brings back, like there's not one team that you can say I know for a fact Hutto will be better than them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to just like pick out 4. You know, like who are going to be 4 in this district to come out of, you know, Vandergrift?
I think we would all have different 4s. If we all did a round table, we'd all have different 4s.
Plus, you have so many people leaving from last year from this district. So many like big time players. Yeah.
But I think the matchup that I'm really looking forward to is going to be Round Rock and Westwood, having those 2 quarterbacks with Seth Ford and RJ Martinez dueling it out. I think was going to be a really good show, and we may all have to be at that game.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, it's always fun when they do the realignment. You know, because then you just
it sparks new conversations.
Yeah,
you know?
just new excitement.
I had a real quick question. We all know that we saw Drew Dawson get commit to UAB. What's the QB situation looking like for Vandy going into 2020?
I mean, it's the guy that's kind of been waiting is Ryan Back. This last season wasn't like the season before last for Vandergrift, Griff, where you're just blowing people out. So I mean, he didn't really get too much opportunity to see game time. So I mean, he's kind of an unknown. I mean, I know he's like most instances is kind of is like a crowd favorite. The guys love him. I mean, he's a great sideline guy, but he's definitely unproven and definitely just kind of an unknown. So I mean, he definitely has the frame. He's been in the system for so long. But in terms of on-field stuff, we just haven't really seen him much. So I mean, as of right now, it's going to be Ryan Beck.
All right.
All right. Let's go on to District 26, 6A. Austin, Aikens, Bowie, Lake Travis, Westlake, Hayes, Del Valley, and shout out to San Marcos. We're going to have some of their coverage brought to you by Focus Fit this year in 2020. Shout out to Keith Schmidt. All right. So I guess, the only real difference here is San Marcos, right?
Yep.
So
they replaced Lehman with San Marcos.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely a step up, I'd say.
Big step up. Yeah.
In terms of facilities.
That's true.
I like their stadium a lot.
And they got that indoor practice facility too.
Yes, they do. They spend a lot of taxpayer money out in San Marcos.
So I mean, it's just like, okay, it's almost like 26-6A. They were like, okay, we got to do something here.
We know we don't want to put Lake Travis and Westlake with the other people, so let's just drop them down, I guess.
They're like, we got to do something here. So let's switch out Lehman and San Marcos. How about that? Right?
That's what they did.
That's basically what they did.
I think San Marcos wants to be in this district more than Lehman wanted to be in that district.
They don't want this. They don't want that smoke, man.
No, I think they do though. Like I think they do.
Yes, you're right. That mindset. I got some history with San Marcos. I'm a Lockhart boy. Played football against San Marcos when I was in high school, and
yeah, well,
and they were bad.
Leather helmets.
They were bad. What?
Y'all had leather helmets. That has nothing to do with now.
But they know they were bad because they were when we played. They were
bad
really
like good or bad like
they were a fantastic team.
Okay.
And they have a mindset. They have a moxie about them. Like just because they're from San Marcos and so they have this mindset. But I'm telling you right now, you don't want Westlake. You want Hayes.
Yeah.
You want Austin High. You want Aikens.
Mm-hmm.
But no one in that district wants Lake Travis or Westlake.
Westlake, they want each other.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, as far as Lake Travis, Westlake, as far as everybody else, San Marcos can hang with the best of them, I think. And I mean, we see
we will find out
why. Why not? I mean, we want to talk about Caleb Burton. We want to talk about these dudes for Hayes. Like, where was the production?
The production was only 2 losses in the regular season for Hayes to Westlake and Lake Travis.
But I mean, if it's Hayes, then you could put San Marcos right after that
for 3 and 4.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. That's what I'm saying. Like you do bring up Del Valley, and it's a valid point because they have D1 starters from the offensive line, backfield, quarterback, and wide receiver. The point that I'm trying to make is, I don't know if San Marcos is going to be able to handle the level of competition that those 4 schools bring, like Travis, Westlake, Hayes, and Del Valley. And Bowie's not a slouch either. I mean, Bowie could shock everybody and get a 3rd spot. We don't know until they play the game.
I would put San Marcos about level with Bowie in terms of my expectation, I think.
Okay. All right. So and then there was one more district we want to mention, right?
You want to talk about that one?
Yeah. Did you want to mention it?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll bring it up.
Our homies.
13-2A Division 1.
Yeah.
Flatonia is moving up. Quite some names in this district. So this is going to be Flatonia, Ganado, Schulenburg, Shiner, and what will probably become a bigger rivalry than what it already is, Weimer. So that Flatonia-Weimer game, me and Papa Romeo went to that last year. It was cold. And, Flatonia was a little shorthanded at that time, but Weimer just had a large running back. They probably had like a 5A D1 style running back in 2A ball. And so that guy just pretty much just ran at will and dominated on the ground. Too much wind to throw, and Weimer came up victorious in that matchup. But I think Flatonia is coming back. It's probably one of the tougher districts in 2A Division 1. That's kind of been talked about by Dave Campbell's has talked about that, and some other talking reporters for their outlets. So we'll see how things fare out. But shout out to Flatonia, maybe a new sponsor with them coming soon.
All right, and then shout out to Lawman ATX and Chris Becker and the Becker family, for sponsoring last year's coverage of Flatonia Bulldogs.
I mean, all I can say is Recon Athlete is covering some of the Paul, can you quit messing with
I
that
know,
mic?
man.
Oh
I
my god!
I just wanted to see if we get a
You
reaction.
you've been doing that the whole time. You need to sit on your hands or something.
Can't.
I think
I look really awkward if I did that.
I think Recon Athlete is covering some of the toughest districts in the state of Texas. I think.
I'd have to agree.
I can confidently say that.
I'd have to agree. All right. Well, we need to. I mean, we didn't even get to some of the other stuff we wanted to talk to. Almost pulled up an hour-long show just talking Super Bowl and district realignment here. But let me shout out the other people that joined us. They're probably still not on here. But shout out to Cheryl Nichols, Jeff Love, Craig Way, Vilma, Elamon, my cousin Edgar, a happy belated, Stuart Newton, Jesse Gunlocks, Paul Partita, Jim Swift, Amato Galvez. We got to get him on the show because he says. Amato says, I got everyone's non-district schedule. So we might have to get him on the show. I have to get him on the show because that's some good stuff. And Tracy Sanso. What up, Tracy? And Howard Gutman, Coach Gutman, Coach G. Shout out to everybody else that was on the watch party. And shout out to everybody that's just been consistently hanging out with us on Facebook Live and checking us out on YouTube. And we're going to do episode 50.
5-0
Saturday.
What are we gonna do?
We've been consistent. Should I bring a cake or something?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Are you on a diet? I'm on a diet.
I'm not eating sour candy in February, but that's about it.
What?
Why?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to improve my gut health.
Why don't you don't want to wait for that for Lent?
I know.
Okay.
I mean, I might wait for it
Are you
until after episode 50. But
Are you eating like yogurt or something like that? Like probiotics?
I mean, other candy, just not sour candy.
Is it gummy soft, but just
Nothing.
not sour?
Yeah, anything that's not sour.
Oh Lord.
All right. Well, shout out to everybody that joined us today. And you know what? If you didn't like the halftime show, you know what? Just don't tune in next year.
Don't watch.
All right, Paul, do your thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all enjoyed the podcast, please like, subscribe, and comment down below if you like the Super Bowl halftime show or not. We gone.